गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्याप्य सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव वेद्याद्रविन्दं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव। ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So we are continuing with our discussion in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellectual sheath. And in that discussion, we've had an identification of what Shankara calls the karta, the sense of agency, and how he's talked about the self, which is bliss absolute, the fountainhead of all joy. And we've had our first walk through this idea that when the mind projects with longing, with craving, with control issues, that is my suffering. And the root cause of it is spiritual ignorance. The solution is to rediscover that I am not this karta, this jiva bhavana, but the witnessing consciousness. So what verse are we on this evening?
196.
196. Will you help us out, please, Puneet?
Prantya prapto jiva bhavo na satyo moha paye na satya vastu swabhavat. The jivahood of the Atman, which is the witness, which is beyond all qualities and activities, and which is subjectively experienced as bliss and knowledge absolute, is unreal and is but a delusion caused by the intellect.
And I'm sorry, go on.
Since by nature jivahood is unreal, it ceases to exist once the delusion has been lifted.
Yes, and he's used, not jivahood is how he's translated it, but the Sanskrit is jiva bhavo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the feeling. What would bhava be? Being? Being. The being of the sense that the jiva is unreal. Something that's imaginary ceases to exist when the truth is found out. So in the basic course, I always use the example of the, let me see if I can use a more modern one. Okay, So I got a couple envelopes from Social Security. I had been expecting that it would have my yearly tax materials in it. Didn't open the envelope. So my friend Ron came over last Friday and said, would you check on these? Because I'm getting my taxes done. I think these are my tax stuff. So he opens the envelope and no, Social Security was giving me a 3% cost of living increase. Yay. So the point is, where did the prior report from the Social Security go? Didn't go anywhere because it never existed. I assumed that was what was in the envelope. Once I investigated, why? Open the damn envelope, see what it is. No, it's not that. It's something else. Likewise, this jiva bhavana, this attitude or feeling that I'm a person, this chit chaya, is not a real entity. It only shows up when you don't look at it or look for it. But in a mind made very quiet, with the attentive faculty turned within, investigate. Who are you? I love that Zen koan, a bell ringing in an empty sky. Ding. There's no person there. It's just being heard. Or frequently I'll say, just listen to the traffic and then tune up the mind a bit, thin the mind out, and notice the knower, who or what hears the traffic. And there's no jiva there. There's chid akasha there, the space of pure awareness. So where did that jiva go? Poof, because it was an imagined thing, an assumed thing. Any thoughts on this? Next one.
यावद्भ्रान्तिस्तावदेवास्य सत्ता मिथ्याज्ञानो जिम्भि तस्य प्रमादात् रज्जवान् सर्पभ्रान्तिकालीन एव भ्रान्तेर्नाशे नैव सर्पोऽपि तद्वत्. Having been caused by an error of judgment and false understanding, the jivahood can exist only as long as the delusion lasts. The rope is mistaken to be the snake only when there is an illusion. Once the illusion is destroyed, there can be no snake. So too in this case.
Yes. So when we've got the superimposition of the snake on the rope, first thing that happens is the non-apprehension of the rope, avarana shakti. Then the subsequent misapprehension, vikshepa shakti. I superimpose the imagined snake. From that comes all my fear. Snake. Likewise, first that happens is the non-apprehension of myself as Brahman, avarana shakti. Then comes the subsequent vikshepa shakti, projecting power. And three things project. Shankara only deals with one right in this one. One, I think I'm a person. And with that feeling that I'm a person, it always feels incomplete, not okay, or a need to be protected or defended or secured. And then there's a goal. And then the third item is struggle toward that goal. It'll be better if I get a raise. It'll be better if I get a spouse. It'll be better if I get rid of the spouse. It'll be better if I go to India. It'll be better if I get a different car. And then subtly, it'll be better if my mind is in a different state. I'm going to go take long meditation retreats. It'll be better if I do all these various practices. So I, Jim, can have an experience. These are the most subtle of the superimpositions, where our spiritual vasanas, in fact, are a subtle form of bondage. They're not the iron chains of drug, sex, and rock and roll. They're the golden chains, being identified with the spiritual seeker, the one who wants to accomplish. That needs to go too. Who am I? I am not a mind state. I'm knower of all mind states. All right, next verse.
अनादित्वं विद्यायाः कार्यस्वापि तथेष्यते उत्पन्नायां तु विद्यायाम् अविद्याकमाद्यपि प्रबोधे स्वप्नवत् सर्वं सह मूलं विनश्यति अनाद्यपीदं नो नित्यं प्रागभाव इव स्फुटम्. So too, avidya and its effects are said to be beginningless. But when there is rise of vidya, then avidya, even though it is beginningless, is destroyed, root and branch, just as dreams are destroyed on waking up. The phenomenal universe is not eternal, it is evident like the former non-existence, prak abhava.
So prak abhava, that's a philosophical notion. So when we talk about things existing, for example, the glass, I think I bought these about a decade ago, maybe longer than that, but let's say for the sake of argument, I bought them in 2012. So I got them down on 4th Street and they had come out the prior year, so I got them on sale. So they came into existence in 2011. Some glass company made them. Prior to 2011, they did not exist. For how long did they not exist? How long was their prior non-existence? Beginningless. And the glass company made the glasses. The prior non-existence comes to an end. Alas, they are a finite thing, so their existence is temporary. Then we will have subsequent non-existence, which has a beginning and no end. The dinosaurs were destroyed 60 million years ago. For how long will the dinosaurs be extinct? Endless. So the easiest way to understand this idea of something that's beginningless and has an end. So, yes, how long have I felt like I'm a person? Time immemorial, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But it can come to an end. Now, there's another way to look at this idea of the beginninglessness of ignorance and its end. And here, Shankara just makes a brief reference to the dream state. This is the metaphor I like the best, because we never see the beginning of a dream. It's not like a movie where they roll the credits at the beginning. You walk into the theater, you sit down, you got your popcorn, and the movie begins. But dreams aren't like that. When the mind projects the dream, it projects an unexamined, assumed cause and effect past. Who's had a dream recently? Have you had a dream recently?
Yeah.
What'd you dream?
It's like hanging out with a friend.
Hanging out with a friend. Did you even question how you ended up with the friend? Yes, no?
No, I didn't.
No. Where was it? In India or here?
It was here.
Here, yeah. You didn't think of it as an absurd thing. You just didn't think at all. Isn't that your experience?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you woke up, where did it go? Poof. Likewise. And this is especially important for those of us who are in what I call the yo-yo state. Come to satsang, get tuned up, we make our way through passages of scripture. It's all very effing clear to me. I get it. There's no Jim. There's only the space, the pure awareness. But as Swamiji used to say, the disciples leave the Vedanta on their asanas. They get up and walk out and they leave the Vedanta there. Meaning by the time you get to your car or you go to work, it's gone. And now I'm a person again with all these problems. What happened? Spiritual ignorance came upon me, and I never saw it happen. Isn't this our experience? So the challenge is, how do I recognize when I'm in the dream of egoism? And how can I get out? So here is the mantra I give you. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. If I'm identified with Jiva Bhavana, I'm deluded. Ego will always say, resolve the struggle of ego. More money, different person, different location. I need to get bigger muscles. I need to do whatever, all these things. And what Vedanta says, can you remember? Medha, the key memory. Ask yourself the question, do I think I'm a person? If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. Now stop. I'm going to give you a very simple exercise. The mind cannot focus on 3 sensory experiences at once and continue to think. So let me give you an example. Just be with your breath. Pay attention to your breathing. And now, while you're paying attention to your breathing, listen to the traffic. And now feel the sensations in your hands. Do all 3 at once. It just stops dead. And then the nothingness of yourself is so clear. There's nobody there. Or you can use Ramana Maharshi's great exercise. Koham, who am I? To whom has this sensation occurred? To me, who am I? To whom has this thought occurred? To me, who am I? It's all ways of getting out of the dream of ego identification. Mark of the man or woman of wisdom is that they know they are Brahman. Not a realized person, not an enlightened person, not a person with great spiritual powers. Nonsense, all. Mark of the person who is a jnani, a jivan mukti. They know they are Brahman. What do I mean by that? You've had the direct experience, the aparoksha jnanam. You've thinned the mind enough. But when you go looking for I, it's clear to this vijnana maya kosha. Chidananda. And of the form of emptiness of good. Now, don't go chasing blissful feelings. That too can be another trap. I want to get high, I want to get blissed out. The more you chase it, the more it'll recede. Notice who you are. Any thoughts on this practice? Next verse.
Jim?
Yes.
So you had told us before there was like, I think 5 or 6 questions to ask about, is this are we real or not real? So does it have a beginning and an end? Does it, and could you remind us those questions and how that applies to over here?
Certainly. I'm not sure how many of them there are, but these are the ones that are good to ask about any experience. Does it have a beginning and an end? Is it confined to the waking dream or deep sleep state? Is it confined to the past, present, or future? Does it have qualities or characteristics? Is it a physical object? Is it a feeling, an emotion, or a thought? And most importantly, is it an object of awareness, an object of cognition? All of that, which basically is the entire phenomenal world. Not so.
Okay. The last one is it an object of awareness?
Cognition, an object of awareness. If you see it, that isn't it.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Good questions. Good questions. All right, next verse.
अनादरपि विध्वस्तः प्रागभावस्य वीक्षितः यद्बुद्ध्युपाधिसम्बन्धात् परिकल्पितमात्मनि जीवत्वं न ततोऽन्यत्तु स्वरूपेण विलक्षणः सम्बन्धः सत्त्व आत्मनो बुद्धया मिथ्या ज्ञानपुरः. Although it is beginningless, former non-existence is found to have an end. So too the jivahood, which is imagined to be in the Atman, through its apparent conditioning in the superimposed attributes like the intellect, is not real. But the other, the self, is intrinsically different from it, jivahood. The relation between the Atman and the intellect is due to the false knowledge.
Yes. Another one of the sayings that Swamiji used to have, he used to say, reincarnation is the genealogy of the ghost in the post. Many of us get all caught up in past lives, cause and effect. So a modern day look at that. So I go outside in the evening, I'm walking down Grand Avenue, and for some reason in Oakland, they've changed all the lights in the street lamps. They're much dimmer now. Have you noticed that? I don't know what they've done. But anyway, it's dark. I'm walking down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden there's this great big guy down there. He's all dressed in dark colors. And I'm going, oh my, violence has been up in Oakland. Is this a mugger? Should I turn around and go back home? Should I cross the street? Should I just keep walking? What should I do? He looks so scary. And then a car comes up behind me. And in the headlights, I see it's just a lamppost. There's no one there. That's all there is to the sense of being an individual. Now, the ghost in the post, the Purusha Sthanam, as the scriptures call it, seemed really real. And certainly I had the experience of fear and anxiety. Certainly a real experience. Likewise, when I believe I'm a person, there's with it a neediness, intrinsic spiritual poverty. There's not enough. I'm not enough. Then I posit a goal, which is either change the world, more, better, different out there, or change me, bigger, taller, etc., smarter. And the suffering of struggle begins. What am I trying to do? Improve, fix, defend, and secure something that doesn't even exist. Like me thinking about the mugger. Oh, they're changing the policy in Oakland. This person ought to be getting counseling. Maybe if he's on drugs, we'll get rehab for him. All these ideas about the ghost in the post are meaningless because there's nobody there. This is why every attempt we've gone through to try to fix ourselves, find happiness in the world, is at best, incredibly partial, and always transitory. Such is the power of Maya. How many times have I heard this teaching? How many times in deep meditation or in satsang I've had the experience of the scriptures talking about out there in the world. And I have fear and anxiety and resentment at work. I'm all upset about politics. I freak out because interest rates go up. All that stuff. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. Don't try to resolve the struggle of ego. Get out. Drop it. Step back, as it were. Notice who you are. Viveka, Vairagya. Go back there again. Next verse.
विनिवृत्ति भवेत् तस्य सम्यग्ज्ञानेन नान्यथा ब्रह्मात्मैकत्वविज्ञानं सम्यग्ज्ञानं श्रुतेर्मतम्. The superimpositions will cease to function at the dawn of right knowledge and in no other way. According to the scriptures, realization of the identity of the soul and Brahman is right knowledge.
Yes. So, the affliction of the superimpositions, meaning the struggle of ego. I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too dark, I'm too light. My feelings aren't right, my judgments aren't resolved, my confusion, my doubt, all of that stuff that afflicts me. We can at best only temporarily assuage it. And as we go through life, we've got two strategies. We take a bouquet of flowers to everybody. Be nice, be nice, be nice. And when that doesn't work, we get out the baseball bat. Bah, bah, bah. And when that doesn't work, I get some more flowers. Try being nice, be nice, be nice. I'm manipulative all the time. Why? Because I want to get what I want. I want to be okay. I want people to like me. All of this self-obsession. And it's constant for most people. Constant. It's all about me. It's all about me. And even when I'm altruistic, oh, look at me, I'm being so selfless. This is the tyranny of ego. And the only way out is to see its fundamental unreality. I'm not a person. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Now, all I can suggest is be a spiritual scientist. Try taking on this practice. Try it for some time, a few weeks. We will more than happily refund your misery if you find living as an ego more fun. All I can say is, who got upset this week? If you got upset, why? It's a spiritual axiom that if I'm disturbed, I'm the one with the klesha, the defect, the affliction. And what is that affliction? I'm either attached to something, I've got some control issue going on, I've got an expectation that wasn't met, or I felt attacked or harmed. You know, but you're saying that to me. I need mine. Don't believe me. I was talking with this woman last Saturday. She was just a wreck. She's going through a divorce. She's 66. She's no kid. And she's realized that she's lost the house, lost the spouse. She's only got enough money for the next 10 years. And she's going to run out of money. Her worry over the future, her rigid identification with the body has made her miserable in the now. Worry and anxiety are not solutions. I mean, if you're in the world at the level of Vyavahara, at least be solution oriented. Take an action that might change something. But to sit home and worry and wring your hands does nothing to make you miserable. It's all based on spiritual ignorance. Get out. Next verse.
तदात्मानात्मनो सम्यग् विवेकेनैव सिद्ध्यति ततो विवेककर्तव्य प्रत्यगात्म सदात्मनोः. This realization comes only through right discrimination made between the self and the not self. That is why one must strive to discriminate between the individual self within and the eternal self everywhere.
Yes. This karta, this agent. So it's pretty easy to look at the table, subject, object. I'm not a table, I'm the dude looking at the table. That's easy. Remembering I'm not the body, I'm the knower of the body. That's a little harder. And listen carefully. It's actually what we call the bija vasana. It is the real root of all the other attachments. I am not the prana. We've gone through that. I'm not energy. I'm not the mind with its feelings. I'm not the thoughts. And I'm not any thought of self. Where Brahmasmi. Sakshi, always the witness. And the still point, the whole hurricane of the world moves around. Never touches me. Yeah, but what about this? What about that? We need to renounce the world. This is the real meaning of sannyas. It doesn't mean wearing the orange and having a 5-syllable unpronounceable name. Give it all up. That doesn't mean do without. We have to be in the world, but not of it. Have to give up the sangraha, the gripping, the attachment. Next verse.
जलं पङ्कवदन्यन्तं पङ्कापाये जलं स्फुटं यथा भाति तथात्मापि दोषाभावे स्फुटप्रभः. Water which is extremely muddy appears as transparent water when the mud has been removed. So too, the Atman manifests its clear lustre when the impurities have been removed.
So the idea here is if the water is muddy, what do we have to do? Remove everything that is not water, the mud. In the monsoon, when the ladies come down to get the water, there's silt. They put the kataka nut or alum in it, and that makes the whole thing sink to the bottom. They can decant the clear water. So, how do I remove the dirt that occludes the apprehension of my real nature? Withdraw my attention from the not self. Withdraw my attachment. Withdraw my identification. This is the essence of discrimination between the self and the not self, viveka, which then is followed by vairagya. When I see that that's the not self, and then the clear nature of the self. Like clear water, it is nirmalam, without any dirt. Vishuddham, extremely pure. Shanti, peace. Next verse.
असिन्नवृत्तौ तु सदात्मना स्फुटं प्रतीतिरेतस्य भवेत् प्रतीचः ततो निरासा करणीय एव सदात्मनः साध्वहमादिवस्तुनः. This very individual self is clearly realized as the eternal self when the unreal ceases to exist. So one must strive to completely remove the ego, etc., from the eternal self.
Yes. In other ways, expressing the same idea. No personal sense of self is real. When I see the mind trying to grab onto the personal sense of self, drop it. When we solve the spiritual malady, we will straighten out physically and mentally. The solution looks nothing like the problem. Oh, I don't have enough money. I'm all alone. I'm not going to get my raise at work. That's the problem. Now we have to solve the spiritual malady. Drop it. Get out. What about the world? Give it to Ishvara. And the world keeps going on just fine without my stupid egoism. Unnecessary. All it does is make me miserable and frequently the people around me. And we can watch these subtle sanskaras arise, the need for attention, the need for approval, the need to be right, the need to control. I mean, like funny little things in a conversation. Are you always thinking about how you're going to respond to the person? Or are you truly listening? I was watching this thing on the tube where this one person was saying, what people basically want is to be seen and to be heard. Oh, yeah. That's so simple. But how many of us are composing our response while they're talking? I mean, these forms of ego can be so subtle. Drop, drop. Next verse.
अतो नायं परात्मा स्यात् विज्ञानं य शब्दभाक् विकारित्वाच्च परिच्छिन्नत्वहेतुतः दृश्यत्वादविद्धाचार्यत्वान्नानित्यो नित्य इष्यते. For the following reasons, the intellectual sheath which we have so far spoken of cannot be Supreme Self. It is subject to change, it is inert and insentient, it is limited, it is an object of the senses, and it is not constant. A mortal, perishable thing indeed cannot be said to be the immortal, imperishable Atman.
So this Vijnana Maya Kosha is the imposter self. It forms itself as this Jiva Bhavana, this attitude that I'm a person. And here, to sum up this section, Shankara goes into the reasons why it's not so. So the first idea in this verse?
It is subject to change.
Yes. On Monday I'm okay, on Tuesday I'm not okay. Next idea.
It is inert and insentient.
I watch it. One thought does not see another thought. So if you have the attitude, oh, it was a great day, I hit all the green lights of life and everybody was nice to me. Those are thoughts. Can one thought see another thought? Or you may think, boy, was I a screw up today. I got yelled at by my boss and my partner yelled at me, won't speak to me. And I got a ticket. I'm a loser. All those are thoughts. One thought cannot see another thought. I am a sentient being, the sentient being that sees those thoughts. You are sentience itself. The thoughts are insentient. Next idea.
It is limited.
Yes. That personal sense of self is so little. And even when a person is doing really, really well, and got some power, never solves the fear problem. Always there for the ego identity. Always. Next idea.
It is an object of the senses.
Yes. So again, we've talked about how this karta, the sense of agency, is something I can know. If I feel like a person, I'm deluded. I am aware of the feeling that I'm Jim. That's delusion. I can drop it once I can see that it's in front of me. Next idea.
It is not constant.
Yes, it certainly isn't. But you are constant. You are nityam, eternal. Kutastha, the word we've been getting in Monday night. Still like a moment. Is that all the pieces?
It ends with a mortal, perishable thing indeed cannot be said to be immortal, imperishable.
So this jiva is a mortal thing, a perishable thing. When Mary died, the idea that she thought she was Anne Mary, Yah died. She did not die. But that Jiva Bhavana died with her. All right, next verse. I think we now move into the Anandamaya Kosha.
Yes. Section 44, Anandamaya Kosha. Ananda Pratibimba Chumbi Tatnurvritti Tamo Jimbhita Syadanandamaya Priyadi Gunaka Sveshthartha Labhodaya Punyasyanubhave Vibhati Kritinamanandarupaha Swayam Sarvo Nandati Yatra Sadhu Tanu Bhrinmatra Prayatnam Vina. The Anandamaya Kosha, bliss sheath, is that modification of nescience which is kissed by a reflection of the Atman, which is bliss absolute. Pleasure, etc., are its attributes, and it springs into expression when an object agreeable to it presents itself. The fortunate feel it spontaneously when the fruits of their good actions manifest. Every being, without the least effort, derives great joy from it.
Yes. So the Anandamaya Kosha are those moments when the mind has been freed from the tyranny of its longing. So where's my little prayer stone? There it is. God bless you. You get the bad rap every time. So this is what happens in the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the same thing as deep sleep. We'll get to that. Which is the same thing as my bundle of vasanas in their seed form. Out of that springs agitation, which then forms into a thought and a desire. And then I decide that some person, place, thing, or situation, some condition is priya, dear. Now, we don't all like the same things. But do you enjoy getting what you want? Yes, I do. What's going on? So first I determine the object is dear. Then I do my best to get proximate to the object of desire. I buy it, I construct it, I mortgage it, I marry it. Do all these things. This is called pramoda, when I am proximate to the object of pleasure. Oh, yeah, I might get my thingy, my wedding is in 2 weeks. And when desire, no, it's called moda. It's called moda. I misspoke. Then when desire and object of desire become one. That is pramoda, the point of pleasure. And depending on how badly I wanted it and how completely the object satisfied that desire, if it did a good job, then the mind stops its extroversion. And I experience the Anandamaya Kosha, which is a kiss of the bliss of my own self-nature. That's all that's happened. So why do we call the self Ananda, translated usually as bliss absolute? It's the best metaphor I've been able to come up with is like the waves in the ocean during a storm. The ocean's just this deep thing, 3 miles, 5 miles deep. But at the surface, all this tumult, all this agitation. But then when the storm passes, where did the waves go? Oh, somebody came by with a boat, cut them all off and put them inside. No. In fact, the waves were nothing but the ocean itself, appearing as the agitated waves. So when the mind ceases its agitation, it comes home. It rests in the self. Now we experience this Anandamaya Kosha in 2 places. Every person does. The first, as Shankara said in this verse, is when you satisfy a desire. And then he talks about it. You have a lot of experience of the Anandamaya Kosha like this based on your past merits. If you have a life where you've done good things, the reward of that will be you'll have happiness through the world. If, on the other hand, you have a lot of punya, demerit, you rob banks, you're mean to people, and you steal, you're probably going to have a lot of agitation. So that's one of the simplest laws of life. What's the slogan you hear? If you want self-esteem, do esteemable actions. So do good in the world, and that good will return. But it's still temporary. It's still transient. Other place wherein everybody experiences the Anandamaya Kosha is deep sleep. There, the mind is completely folded up to its seed form. Everybody loves a deep sleep. And in fact, the more problematic your world is, the more you want sleep. There are many people who are depressives, clinically depressed. What do? They sleep all the time. So, why? Because in the waking state, I'm too unhappy. I go into the ananda. So the mind can be blissful when it lets go of the agitation and comes home and rests in the self. Mike Minton has gotten me this picture now. Can you in Zoom see the picture? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay, there's Hanuman. Hanuman is the mind. And Mauricio was telling me just the other night, I don't know the story of the Ramayana well, but there's one story that there's Hanuman's forgotten all his power. Do you remember this part?
I don't know.
And then some person, remember who you are, and they realize, oh, he can fly, he has all this power. So this is one of the things we understand. The mind is incredibly powerful. I remember the story of where Hanuman's supposed to get herbs for Lord Ram, and he gets to the mountain and he can't find out. Oh, I forgot to ask what they look like. So he just brings the whole mountain. So this is the mind, and it's to be used. But where does it find satisfaction? In the embrace of Ram, meaning the self. Ram is bliss absolute, yourself. The mind in the embrace of the self is blissful. And we have all sorts of expressions in, I got it set right.
Yeah.
In Shankara's description of the teacher, he says, who's a full knower of the Supreme, who has retired into the Supreme. Those of us who've had the great punya to be able to hang out with a Mahatma, you're just with them, and if we tune up and we tune in, oh, we get the borrowed glory of that profound emptiness. Atmaramana, reveling in the self. All right, moving on through Anandamaya Kosha.
Anandam Maya Koshasya Sushuptau Spurti Rupta Kata Swapna Jagara Yorisha Tishta Sandarshanadina. The Anandamaya Kosha is fully manifest in the deep sleep state, while in the dream and waking states, it is only partially manifest depending upon the sight of pleasing objects, etc.
Yes. So in the deep sleep state, the mind is completely folded up into its seed form. So this reveals a very important truth about our minds. The projecting mind is absolutely necessary for suffering. Your mind is not necessary to be blissful. And I'm not talking about unconsciousness. By mind, I think I'm a person, I have a goal, and I have to struggle. That's the Now, Shankara doesn't talk about this, but there is a state called Vasanananda. I call it snooze alarm bliss. So in the morning, you wake up when the alarm goes off, and oh, I don't want to get out of bed. So you punch the pillow and you roll over. Oh. You all know that wonderful state? So there's just enough mind there to be able to deliberately, consciously enjoy the bliss. And then what happens at some point? Oh, I've got to get up. I promised so and so I'd make breakfast. Oh, I got off a report I've got to do at work. And then what am I going to do about my taxes? And the bliss fades like the sun on the mist. It just goes. It just goes. Why? Because I'm thoughting. I have things to do, people to see. Vikshepa Shakti. Two places where we experience the Anandamaya Kosha. When we satisfy a desire, that's always partial and very, very temporary, and deep sleep.
Why is that state called Vasana Nanda?
Because the vasanas have started to sprout just a bit. I'm not really sure why. I saw it on a YouTube video, and the Swami called it that. But I liked it. It identified that particular state very well. Maybe there's a better expression for it. I have to think of it. Snooze alarm bliss. But it's not the pure Anandamaya Kosha, which is deep sleep itself. You can't think at all. You can only remember, oh, I slept so well, I don't remember a thing. It's after the fact that you remember. And is that helpful? All right. One more, and then we'll quit.
Naiva yamanandamaya paratma sopadhikatvat prakriter vikarat karyatva heto sukrita kriyaya vikara sangdhat samahitatvat. Nor can the Anandamaya Kosha be the Supreme Self because it has attributes which are ever changing. It is a modification of Prakriti, is created as a result of good actions of the past, and it lies embedded in other sheets which are in themselves all modifications.
So the Anandamaya Kosha, which is in essence nothing but the bundle of thy vasanas, pure ignorance, cannot be the self. Now, there is some praxis that's implied here. There are people who, when they meditate, they go into a state which technically we call manolaya, which means the dissolution of the mind, meaning they go unconscious. Feels really good. Laya, it's very thick, and you kind of drift, and then you come back. Now, if you take a yoga class, they'll put you down on your back and they'll take you into manolaya. You'll hear somebody snoring next to you. Shavasana, have you had that happen? Yeah. Now, it's better than being stressed all the time. But it's not meditation. Meditation takes us to manonasha, the destruction of the mind, which is not a state of mental enfeeblement. It's not a state of pure ignorance. The mind at meditation, I always think of like a cat stalking a fly. It's totally alert, but still pounce. That alertness that's right there. So you're going toward the Anandamaya Kosha. If in your meditation you're headed towards Monolai. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about this next time, and then if not, we'll move on to the next section. We'll end here tonight. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.